Okay, so what are the top 10 most asked questions when it comes to health and fitness that someone would ask a personal trainer? Let's see what Grok has to say here. All right, based on common trends with health and fitness inquiries, here are top 10 questions. Okay, so how can I lose weight effectively? That's one. What's the best workout routine for beginners? How can I build muscle mass? And what should I eat before and after a workout? How do I improve my cardio endurance? How do I stay motivated to work out regularly? Blah, blah, blah. Okay. These questions reflect common fitness goals and challenges. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to copy and paste these 10, and we'll put it into each one, but we're going to stick with Grok first. Answer all these questions the best way that you can. This will be interesting here. Okay, number one, how can I lose weight effectively? The answer that they have is effective weight loss requires a combination of a calorie deficit, regular exercise, and sustainable lifestyle changes. Here's a breakdown. Okay, first kind of tweak on that answer is it's only a caloric deficit, right? It's not a combination of anything except eating less calories than you burn. That's it. All right, nutrition focuses on a balanced diet with whole foods, aiming for a calorie deficit of 500 to 700 calories per day to lose 1 to 2 pounds per week. Okay, I understand, give them a number. That makes sense. Use tools like MyFitnessPal to track intake, prioritize protein to preserve muscle mass. That's all really good information. When it comes to a balanced diet, I would say balanced diet has kind of been debunked. That's old news. Doctors say that. Doctors barely have any training in nutrition. So they say balanced diet, but balanced why? The truth of the matter is, a high carb diet for a lot of people can be detrimental because you're causing your insulin to respond all the time. And that's, look, a high carb diet is like the number one way to potentially bring about diabetes in your life. Now, we can define what carbs you're eating. Are you eating whole foods like sweet potatoes, stuff like that? That's less likely to be that much of an issue. Now, if you're eating the carbs known as sugary treats, you're going to have a problem eventually. Maybe if you're somebody who's just can't handle that stuff. My views on nutrition, certified nutritionist, is high fat, high protein, low carb. Just because you'll be way more satiated so that you won't have as many cravings to eat more. That's it. But they won't say that in this because it just kind of, I don't know, man. There's like a dogma. There's like a stigma within the nutrition world with anything high fat, high protein. Anyways, moving on to exercise. Combine strength training 2 to 4 times per week to build muscle and boost metabolism with cardio. 3 to 5 sessions of 20 to 45 minutes to burn calories. High intensity interval training HIIT is particularly effective. None of that actually matters when it comes to weight loss, right? And that was the initial question, weight loss. So, if you are eating in a deficit, you are going to lose weight. If you're eating in a deficit and exercising more, which is causing your body to burn the fat stores in your body, you're going to lose more weight. But as far as what's necessary, it's just a calorie deficit. The problem is when people get into a calorie deficit and they do more cardio, they get hungrier. And, if you don't want to be hungrier, why would you do that to yourself? Unless it's like, it's like you really got to get down to this weight in a specific amount of time, Anyways, third thing here is lifestyle. Prioritize 7 to 9 hours of sleep manage stress through meditation. Okay. Stay hydrated. Aim for 2 to 3 liters of water daily. Okay. As far as sleep's obviously super important. Some people don't need as much. Some people just don't need as much as others. I've got a client who only needs like 4 or 5 hours. He's insane. Manage stress. Meditation is a really good way to manage stress. I would say prayer as well. People like to say meditation because it doesn't like bring about this like, okay, we don't want to bring God into this. But for all the people who, when someone says, yeah, do meditation for your mind, and are like, why don't you just say pray? I'm going to say pray. So depending on where you're at in your life with your relationship with God, whatever, pray or meditate. What you're basically doing is you're focusing your thoughts on one thing instead of all the things that you could be thinking about, which can manage your stress hormones, bring you a little bit more mental clarity, and bring down your anxiety so you can get better sleep, so that you can make better decisions on your food and make better decisions on your exercise and staying accountable to yourself. So that's what that does and helps with. Always do that. The older I get, the more that becomes, to be honest, the most important thing in my life. Because if I get that done, if I get my meditation, my prayer in, then everything else is going to be a little easier to get done. Because I've centered myself. And I'm not thinking about, okay, the 5 things I got to do, and I overthink. So anyways, stay hydrated. Obviously drink water. 2 to 3 liters a day. That's a lot. I mean, I wouldn't say you need that much. Consistency. Gradual changes are key. Avoid fad diets. Focus on habits you can maintain long term. Yeah, that's true. I understand all that. But a fad diet, we got to define a fad diet. I would say some type of ketogenic carnivore diet, which is high fat, high protein, 0 to no or low to 0 carbs, is not a fad diet. Not anymore. It's a lifestyle. Fad diets used to be like back in the 90s and early 2000s, stuff like that. But these have been like proven that like really help you reel your calories in, not be as hungry. But anyways, okay. So tracking, monitor progress with weekly weigh-ins, body measurements, or progress photos, but don't obsess over daily fluctuations. That's very hard. That's very hard for my clients to do. That's even hard for me to do when I lose weight, is daily checking. Well, it says weekly weigh-ins. So weekly weigh-ins, I understand that. That makes sense. But I would say the easiest, and this is easy, right? The easiest way to lose weight is to just eat 1 meal a day within an hour. Like, get all your food in within an hour. If you can just do that and then not eat the rest of the day, you're most likely going to be in a caloric deficit, and you're just not going to give yourself another option to consume more calories. Now, that's a harder thing to do. I've done it. I don't maintain it every day. But if we're talking about the most efficient, that can be like, can really help you lose weight, and it can be done, weekly, like for weeks on end, is 1 meal a day. OMAD is what they call it. That's a phenomenal way to lose weight. So those are my caveats to the answer that Grok gave. All right, number 2. What's the best workout routine for beginners? Answer. A beginner-friendly workout routine should be simple, balanced, and focus on building confidence in proper form. Here's a sample 3-day per week full body plan. Warm up, light cardio, and dynamic stretches. 10 minutes. Workout for 45 minutes. Squats, body weight or with light dumbbells, 3 sets, 3 to 15 reps, or 12 to 15 minutes. Push-ups, same. Bent over rows, plank, walking lunges. The only thing I would change is the plank. I just can't get behind a plank. Plank you're just holding a static position. You got to think about this. Like, people hold planks for like hours. So how hard is it? And what are you really doing here? I'd cut planks out of your routine. The only really core exercise you should do is a hanging knee lift or a V-up where you're bringing your knees to your chest on the ground or like on a bench. Other than that, it's fine. You don't have to do much. Okay, cardio after that, moderate intensity, walking on the treadmill, cycling at a pace where you can talk but not sing. And then you cool down for 5 minutes, stretch. Progression, start with 1 to 2 sets, increase 3. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Tips, work out with a trainer initially to learn proper form, use bodyweight exercises, equipment isn't available, progress slowly to avoid injury. Yeah, that's a very beginner-friendly workout, and I actually have a kid that I train on a similar workout. But when we do squats, here's the deal. What we do is goblet squats with a dumbbell. Holding a dumbbell here, squatting, because that's going to activate your core. I stay away from back squats, no matter what level of experience you are, just because the risk to reward on squats, especially the older you get, it's just not worth it. I mean, most people sit all day and they lock up their spine, their lumbar, and their psoas and their hip flexors. And then they want to squat like 200 pounds behind the back, behind the neck, you know. And it's just not. Back squatting puts too much strain on the low back. Now, some people are like built for squatting, and that's great. And they can do it. But why not do a Zercher squat where you're holding the dumbbell here, or a front squat where you're holding the dumbbell here, or the barbells here, so that your core is engaged and there's way harder risk of getting injured. So that's what we do. We do goblet squats, hold the weight here. Push-ups, I had them on push-ups. We were doing negative push or positives, or actually negatives. So we'd start at the top and then we'd do 3 seconds to go all the way down, because the kid couldn't do push-ups all the way, so that's how we started, and that helped him improve. Bent over rows, you can never go wrong with bent over rows. That's amazing. One of the best movements. Like I said, plank, get that out of there. Walking lunges, yeah, I could see how walking lunges are good for a beginner. I'm always going to go with Bulgarians. Walking lunges are beneficial, but you get way more out of Bulgarian split squats than you do a walking lunge. Look up Bulgarian split squat. It's the best lower body movement you can do. I honestly believe that. I know the knees over toes guy shows the split squat lunge. It's pretty much, the staple of his program, and I totally understand that, because you want to be able to do that deep of a lunge where your knee goes over your toe. That's great, but also you're never going to be able to load that movement as much as you can load and build strength in a Bulgarian split squat. So they're both super beneficial. You need both of them, but I would say the Bulgarian is more important, especially when you're young. Okay, cardio, yeah, cardio is whatever, that's fine. You can do that. As when it comes to the amount of times you do that workout, yeah, twice a week. Just do it twice a week, and every other day go for walks. One of the best things you can do as far as a walk, dude, is set a timer. You might have never heard this before. Walking 15,000 steps is cool and all. It just takes forever. You're going to get way more bang for your buck when it comes to, 1, muscular endurance in your legs, and then 2, cardiovascular endurance. You're going to strain your heart a little bit more. If you walk in like every 2 to 3 minutes, you do 10 squats. That'll get your heart rate up, and you'll be building some endurance in your quads and your legs. But let's say you do a 30-minute walk, and every 3 minutes you do 10. So that's 10 set. That's 100 squats, bodyweight squats in 30 minutes, separated by bouts of walking. That's great. That's a fantastic workout. Always add squats to your walks, because why not? Or lunges. Just do some lunges every once in a while, when the 3-minute timer goes off. All right, so that's my take on number 2. Number 3, how can I build muscle mass? Building muscle hypertrophy requires resistance training, proper nutrition, and recovery. Here's how. Training. Focus on progressive overload, increasing weight, reps, or intensity over time. Train each muscle group 2 to 3 times per week. I would say just 2. Sometimes just 1. Squats, deadlifts, bench press, rows. I'd cut out squats. I'd cut out deadlifts. I'd cut out bench press. I always keep rows. You can always substitute bench press. Usually what people are talking about is barbell. I'd get out of barbell just so you want to save your shoulders. Go to dumbbells. Stay like in neutral or like at a 45-degree position. Whatever feels natural in your shoulder, just do that. Don't stress with the barbell. Use dumbbells and progress that. Deadlifts. Don't stress about deadlifts. Don't stress about squats. Like I said, you should be doing Zerchers or front squats. If you just like the squat movement, right? And then Bulgarians. Don't stress about anything else. And isolation exercises such as bicep curls. Yeah, guys want to build their biceps, so do some curls, do some tricep push down, do some military press, it's whatever. Aim for 3 to 4 sets, 6 to 12 reps per exercise at 65 to 85% of your 1 rep max. Here's the deal, and this is a hard thing to understand sometimes if you've never done it. The 12 reps comes from finding a weight and being able to push yourself at that weight to where the last 2 reps or 3 are extremely difficult, but you can finish, right? That way, you're really taxing the muscle and tearing the muscle down so it can build and grow. That's the whole idea, okay? Now, I've seen people do 3 to 4 sets of 12 and not grow because they're not pushing themselves. That's just how it is. And you be forced sometimes. Sometimes people have to be forced to push themselves. They just don't know how. And it's a mental thing too. So what I do, because most people can't really grind that bodybuilding style hypertrophy training where you're 3 to 4 sets of 12, where those last 2, that's focus, that's intensity, that's purpose. That's very intentional. And a lot of people don't care about their biceps that much or their pecs, their abs that much, right? So what I like to do is like 4 to 6 sets of a weight that you can do 10 times, but you do it for 6 reps. That's doable. People can do that. 6 reps is not too mentally overwhelming, so they can handle it. And then what we'll do is we'll rest for a minute or 2 in between, and then we'll move on. Do another set. 6 reps. It's a heavy weight. You can do it 10 times. What usually happens is they will eventually want to go heavier. And, I'll let them go a little bit heavier, and we'll be pushing that 6 rep range. And now that they're dialed in, 6 being a smaller number or something they can handle, they end up kind of pushing themselves. But like 12 reps, I know some bodybuilders, if they watch this, they'll understand because they see people doing 12 reps and they ain't doing real hard 12 reps, So that's a mentality, and not everybody's got that. But like it said in the very, very beginning, progressive overload is 3 to 4 concepts, right? Weight, you can improve weight. You can improve reps and sets. You can improve or increase or decrease rest periods. So those are the things that are going to create more trauma to the muscle in different ways. If you increase the weight, it's going to engage the muscle in a certain way. Your reps are going to go down, potentially. And then, the reps and sets, if you increase those, that's going to tax the muscle more, so potentially tear it down. And then, what was the last one? Rest periods, right? If you increase your rest periods, like when I do those 6 sets of 6, I increase the rest periods to 2. Sometimes we do 3 minutes, depending on how hard they're really pushing that 6, right? And that can give them a little bit more time to recover, but like repeat heavy weight. Or we'll decrease the rest period, and that'll kind of cause more of a cardiovascular strain because the rest period is like a minute. So anyways, those are kind of the elements of progressive overload. Intensity over time, I'm trying to understand what that means. Intensity over time. You get more intense the more you lift. Well, yeah, that's just becoming better at lifting. So, I guess you can keep that. Nutrition, eat in a slight calorie surplus, right? 250 to 500 calories above maintenance. Consume about 1.6 to 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight daily. Include carbs for energy and fats for hormones. Yeah. Look, I've never seen somebody in their 20s, right, pushing themselves in the gym and not growing, no matter what they're eating. I grew up on turkey sandwiches and scrambled eggs and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, like, deli meat and PB&Js. Not the most nutritionally dense foods, but I grew. I wouldn't focus on I got to get my protein in. Don't be that guy. God, don't be that guy. We all had friends that were that guy. And if you're still that guy, Brian, I love you, but it's annoying. Okay, recovery. Sleep 7 to 9 hours nightly and take rest days to allow muscle repair. Active recovery, light walking, yoga can help. Yeah, okay, cool. Supplements, protein powder for convenience, and creatine monohydrate for performance, but they're not mandatory. Yeah, I agree. They can help, but they're not mandatory. Tracking, log your workouts to ensure progressive overload. Expect 0.5 to 1% body weight gain per month. I would not be tracking body weight gain, and I've never tracked, like in a logbook, my weights when I was lifting heavy, trying to really grow. But you can. If it helps you, do it. Keeps you dialed in. Okay, question number 4. What should I eat before and after a workout? Answer: pre and post workout nutrition supports energy and recovery. Pre-workout, 1 to 2 hours before, eat a balanced meal with carbs. This balanced meal stuff is just oatmeal with protein powder and berries, whole grain toast, peanut butter and banana. I could not eat. And I technically don't eat an hour or 2 before a workout. But that's just me. I know, my brother, my fiance, they have to eat like 30 minutes before a workout. It's crazy. That's just not what I deal with. So it's different for different people. It's actually more about, it's 2 concerning things. One is you want to feel at least energized to perform the tasks that you're getting ready to push yourself to do. Whatever foods help you do that, eat those. And, you got to check. But like foods that most people feel like energized from are, oatmeal, berries, fruits, peanut butter, yogurt. So yeah, they energize you. I guess I don't like the terminology of for energy. You get a glucose spike. That's what carbs will do to your blood. I prefer to train fasted. Not like 12-hour fasted sometimes, but more like I haven't eaten anything in 3 hours. Just because when I eat, no matter what I eat, it just sits right here. And it's hard for me to train with. So you got to play by ear, but that's such a standard answer that it's just it's so unique to every person. And look, if you're going to be training very hard, bring a banana with you. Like, eat it in the middle of your workout, you know? Do that. A lot of people just like eat before their workout. You should, if you can't eat a lot, right? Or you'll throw up before a workout, eat the bare minimum so that you feel satiated or whatever, you feel better. And then in the middle of the workout, eat half of a banana, you know, so that you have something on your stomach. I don't know. I've never had to do that, but some people do. Okay. Post-workout, what should you eat? Prioritize protein to repair muscles and carbs to replenish glycogen. Examples: protein shake with whey protein, piece of fruit, grilled chicken, rice, steamed vegetables, classic cottage cheese with pineapple or whole grain crackers. Whole grain crackers. All right, Grok. Yeah, sure. Eat all of it. It just depends on what your goals are. Like, if you want to lose fat, then you've got to dial whatever you put into your mouth down. You know, you got to dial it in. But yeah, in all cases, if you really want to optimize nutrition, don't eat sugar. Don't eat anything processed. Don't eat anything fried. And, you know, there's a lot of research out there on seed oils and how that can cause inflammation, so stay away from seed oils. If you react fine to seed oils, drink them, I guess. I mean, I don't know, dude. Some people just argue with you about seed oils for days, and it's like, okay, man, go drink them if you want to. I'm not going to stop you. Do whatever you want, but do you want to risk being inflamed? Like, you know, whatever. Okay, hydration. Drink 16 to 20 ounces of water 1 to 2 hours before and sip water during exercise, post-workout. Rehydrate with water and oil, electrolyte oil. Yeah, cool. All right. Yeah, hydrate. Drink water. Put some salt in it. There you go. Tips. Adjust portion sizes based on workout intensity and goals. Avoid high-fat or high-fiber meals pre-workout to prevent digestive issues. Okay, cool. That makes sense. High-fat will cause you to release your bowels. And then obviously high fiber can do the same. That makes sense before a workout. All right, fifth and final question. How do I improve my cardio endurance? Answer. Building cardio endurance improves your ability to sustain aerobic activity. Follow these steps. Training. Start with 3 to 5 sessions per week. Not 5. 20 to 40 minutes of moderate intensity cardio, jogging, cycling, 60 to 70% of your max heart rate, roughly 220 minus your age, 220 minus your age, right, is your max heart rate. Gradually incorporate interval training, which is an alternate high intensity bursts, 30 seconds of sprinting and recovery, 1 to 2 minute walking, example, 4 to 6 intervals, okay? And long, slow distance. 1 weekly session at a lower intensity for 45 to 60 minutes to build aerobic base. Okay, so this is a generic answer. You can't go wrong with it. But the only problem with high intensity interval training is people don't know how to be highly intense. They can get the intervals done, but the highly intense part is a very hard thing to get to, especially on your own. Making it, so here's the deal. If it's running, like, some people can't run fast, right? So if you're expecting yourself to do high intensity interval sprints and you're just not that great at running and you're not a sprinter, you're not going to get much benefit out of it. What I would say to do is jog up a hill or walk up a staircase very fast. That is going to be very intense, and it's not really based on your athleticism. The incline of the hill and the incline of the steps are what is causing the demand on your cardiovascular system and on your legs to build muscular endurance. Doesn't have much to do with your athletic ability to explode and sprint, right? So those two options are better options for interval training. Go up as fast as you can, rest for double the amount of time it took you or triple the amount of time it took you. If it took you 2 minutes to get to the top of the hill, rest for 4 minutes or 6 minutes, or until you feel like you're fully recovered, and then repeat. That's the deal there. Long, slow distance exercise workouts, yeah. But it just depends on what you're trying to build endurance for. If you're trying to get better at jogging and build your endurance, well, then jog a little bit more. That's going to be way more beneficial. But you can also just use a bike. So push yourself on a bike, whatever. Hike, walk up a lot of hills. All right, progression. Increase duration or intensity by 5 to 10% per week. For example, add 5 minutes to runs or increase speed slightly. Yeah. Cross-training makes activities, swimming, rowing, to reduce repetitive stress and engage different muscles. Yes, that's true. And depending on what you're training for, what you want to build endurance for, it needs to be more sport-specific. But cross-training definitely is beneficial. Breathing and form. Practice diaphragmatic breathing and maintain good posture. Optimize oxygen use. Yeah, good luck. Good luck teaching someone how to breathe when they're really pushing themselves hard. Especially like people who have not been athletes their whole life. That's a tough one. Nutrition and recovery. Fuel with carbs, whole grains, and hydrate well. Rest 1 to 2 days between intense sessions. You don't have to consume so many carbs. Whole grains. You really don't. There's a lot of carnivore-based or keto-based people who are super athletic, do a lot of activities, and function pretty well. Some of them don't do that. They eat a bunch of carbs and they do well. Just find what's best for you. The only problem is when you do cardio, you can, like I said earlier in the very beginning, you get hungry, right? So if you're consuming carbs, the carbs are going to trigger you to be hungry again in 2 hours. You don't want to be doing so much cardio and eating so many carbs that you're like overeating and you're gaining fat. Like you're in a caloric surplus. You don't want to be doing that. Nobody wants to train super, super hard and get fatter. So try to make it easy on yourself. Bring the carbs down, up the protein, up the fat. Just makes things easier. You don't have to. Just makes it easier. Tracking. Use a fitness tracker. Yeah, cool. All right, question number 6. How can I stay motivated to work out regularly? Answer. Staying motivated requires aligning your fitness goal or fitness routine with your goals and lifestyle. Try these strategies. Set clear goals. Define specific measurable goals, such as run a 5K in 12 weeks or deadlift my body weight. Break them into short-term milestones. Yeah, sure. Find enjoyment. Choose activities. Set goals. Find enjoyment. Choose activities like dancing, hiking, group classes. Experiment to find what feels fun. There you go. That's a good tip to stay motivated. Find the fun. Schedule it. Treat workouts like appointments. Aim for 3 to 5 sessions per week at consistent times. That is super important. And I would say those two are more important. If you schedule it, schedule a workout, and it's something that is fun, you've found the fun in it, way more likely to stay consistent and do it. Accountability. Work out with a friend. Yeah, heck yeah. When I was training at a gym in LA as a trainer, all my buddies who were other trainers, we worked out all the time together, and it was like being in college again, and it was the best. Because somebody was always working out, somebody's always asking you to work out with them, and you didn't really have an option of like not getting the workout in. So that's great. Accountability, friends, that's great. Track progress, yes, that always helps. Reward yourself, celebrate milestones. Reward yourself with healthy food. Because no one, when I said reward yourself, no one thinks, I'm going to buy myself a dress. Or, no, when it comes to training and someone says, hey, reward yourself, everybody thinks, okay, I'm going to eat that cake. I'm going to go get that cake at Cheesecake Factory. So start rewarding yourself with like very healthy food. Meaning go to the store and buy yourself a steak. Go home and cook it. That's a great reward. Mindset. Focus on how exercise makes you feel rather than just appearance. That's true. Use affirmations or visualization that can help overcome slumps. If motivation dips, reduce workout length or intensity temporarily, but don't skip entirely. Reflect on your why for starting. Yes, those are good. Overcoming slumps, reduce the workout length or intensity temporarily. I would say reduce, depending on what it is, like if it's like stair work, yeah, reduce the length. Do 20 minutes instead of 30. I do that all the time. Intensity for sure, bring down the intensity, but sometimes just bring down the intensity, but keep the length of your workout. Still get the hour in or the 30 minutes in, but just bring down the intensity. Don't get as much done, but make sure you hit that 30-minute mark or that hour mark. One of my things is I'll set a timer for my workout, like 60 minutes, 45 minutes, go. And I will just work out until that timer goes off. And that when it beeps, it's like Pavlov's dog, I guess. You're like, oh God, it feels good. Now, the only thing I want to say about this number 6 question, how can I stay motivated to work out regularly, is stop thinking that you should be motivated to work out regularly. I have to tell people this. What you have to decide is, this is my identity now. This is who I am. I work out. I go on hikes. I do this because I always feel better afterwards. And I like the person I am when I do it. That's what makes you do it. That's what keeps you going. Identity. Don't think about motivation, because motivation comes and goes. I mean, there's some days that I am excited to work out. Most days I am not excited to work out. I just know that when I finish my workout, like 20 minutes into my workout, I will feel better. At the end, I will feel extremely accomplished and proud of myself. And I'll feel like a huge monkey is off my back. Those things are always true. The only way you get more consistent is just by being more consistent. I can't believe I just said that, but that is the truth. Just keep showing up and reminding yourself, it feels so good after that workout. And then think about doing it for years and years and years. Maybe that's an overwhelming thought, but let me tell you something. Me working out, I'm 37, me working out, since I was 18. So for the past 19 years, that's crazy. Numbers and age. Oh my God. But me working out for the past 19 years has kept me from going down really dark paths. Because at the end of every workout, there's that feeling of accomplishment. Maybe I haven't been making steps towards other things that I want to do. Maybe I haven't been consistent in other things, but like the workout, I have been, and in the nutrition, I have been, and I see that in the mirror. And not only I see it in the mirror, but I feel it in the workout. Every workout, I'm reminding myself, you can do this stuff. This is you. You like to push hard, and you can. And you haven't given up on using that skill. You don't want to, and some of you might be at this point, you don't want to have this skill of being able to work out hard or run a lot, run fast, and then not use it for a long period of time, and then go back and work out and just be like, oh my God, I'm a shell of myself, Because that's a very defeated state to be in. Now, if that's where you're at, then you got to slowly and get close to where you used to be. And that's something different. But that's what I've done for the past 19 years is I've continually reminded myself, you're a hard worker. You can push. You like these things. You like to have your heart rate up. It feels like you're back in that mindset of pushing yourself and believing in yourself. And because you don't push yourself if you don't believe in yourself, right? That's a personal thing. But if you start pushing yourself, you will believe in yourself. See how it's weird. Confidence and belief in yourself will always come from doing something. It's not always going to come from not doing something. there's a lot of people out there that are super confident and have no reason to be, right? Other than they just think they are. But when you do something over and over, you're inherently building confidence and belief in yourself. And that's real. It's not, ego, arrogance, or pride, right? It's like legit action that you know that you did, that you felt in your body, that you feel in your head, the activity that you put your mind to or whatever, and you feel it. So that's where you get your confidence. Anyways, all right, number 7. What exercise can help with specific problem areas, belly fat and thighs? Okay, here's the thing. None. Really, none. You just have to lose body fat. You have to start losing weight. The answer, spot reduction, losing fat in one area isn't possible. But you can strengthen and tone specific muscles while reducing overall body fat. Here's how. Okay, you can strengthen. You can't really tone muscles. When people say tone muscles, really what that means is building muscle. When your muscle grows, you can see the design of your muscles more because there's more muscle there. So if you have like a bicep, guys in bodybuilding love the double bicep or the peak. If you have a small bicep muscle, you're not going to really see the peak that much. But the bigger you build this bicep, the more that peak will be pronounced, right? But it didn't change the structure of the muscle. It just built the tissue so that everything that muscle is designed like for you gets bigger. That's what happens, and they call that toning. The other aspect to this is like you're going to see, right? You're going to see your muscle way more when you reduce overall body fat. So the toning thing is something that, when I was a trainer, when I was getting taught, educated in training, we were taught to kind of like explain that toning isn't a technical term and that you need to tell your clients, okay, what's actually happening here? Because a lot of women say tone because it's a big marketing word within female fitness. So as long as you understand what that means, it's not can't tone a muscle, you can build it and you can reduce the body fat. Okay, belly fat loss. Create a caloric deficit through diet and cardio. Only diet's necessary. Cardio or exercise can improve your caloric burn, the calories you're burning, which can put you in a higher caloric deficit for the day. So that helps, but just eating less and that putting you in a caloric deficit is enough. Core exercises, strengthen abs. Core exercises are not going to help you with specific problem areas, and that's what this question's about. So we're just gonna move past that because now they're talking about thighs and fat loss, and yeah, it's not. All right, number 8. How do I avoid or recover from workout injuries? The answer: preventing and recovering from injuries involves proper technique, preparation, and recovery strategies. How do I avoid or recover from workout injuries? Preventing and recovering from injuries involves proper technique. Well, yeah, to avoid, you have to have pretty good technique, prepare properly, and then once you get injured, you have to have recovery strategies. Yeah. Those are different. I don't know why they put that together, but anyways, warm up properly, good form, progress gradually, rest between workouts, equipment, wear supportive shoes, use proper gear. Yeah, that's sure. Recovery, RICE method, stretching, mobility, professional help, consult a doctor or a physical therapist for persistent pain, nutrition. Yeah. And it's going to be specific for whatever you're doing, to how to avoid injury. How to avoid injury in a back squat. Don't do it, Obviously, there's more to it, but warming up, here's a rule that will help you no matter what you do, what type of workout you do. Break a sweat before you work out. On the treadmill, on the bike, on the rower, or, just standing there kind of jumping up and down, jumping side to side, high knees, doing some karaoke, active active stretching. Make your warm-up, your dynamic warm-up so that your heart rate's up and you break a little sweat. That way you will negate a lot of potential injuries. All right, number 9. How much cardio versus strength training should I do? This is all dependent upon what your goals are. All right, so the answer, the balance depends on your goals, right? Okay, but a mix of both optimizes health and fitness. Okay, yeah. General health, aim for 150 to 30 minutes. Oh my gosh. 300 minutes of moderate cardio, 150 minutes of vigorous cardio per week, plus 2 to 3 strength training sessions targeting all major muscle groups per WHO guidelines. Whenever I hear WHO, World Health Organization, I raise an eyebrow, after the last 5 years. Anyways, that's just me, I guess. Yeah, general health is so personal. Brisk walking. I mean, look, here's the deal. Bodybuilders have been in pretty good health. The ones that don't abuse steroids, pretty good health, and they don't do a lot of cardio. Weight loss, prioritize cardio to burn calories, paired with 2 to 3 strength sessions, preserve muscle and boost metabolism. Weight loss, focus on eating less. Muscle gain, focus on strength training 4 to 5 times a week. Yeah, I think people lift too much to build muscle. And this is something that I don't think I hear many people talk about, if any, okay? And this might be the first time you hear it, but I feel like everyone's got like a limiter on how much their body likes to maintain as far as muscle mass. If you're pushing so hard that you have to train, like you have to break down the muscle so much and eat so many calories to maintain that muscle, and the moment that you just come back to like baseline, work out twice a week, eat a normal calorie intake, and you start losing muscle rapidly, your body's not meant to hold on to that muscle. I see a lot of people really trying to grow muscle when it seems like they've just tapped out naturally. And that's a great place to be. That's a great place to be, that you have pushed yourself hard enough and eaten enough to put on a certain amount of muscle. And for you to have to put on more, you're going to have to take some type of exogenous hormone, steroids. That's a pretty good milestone, I got that way in my 20s. I was training very hard. I was not putting on muscle. And I was like, I just feel like I'm destroying my body and not getting any growth anymore. I feel like I've tapped out, like my potential muscle growth. And so I switched and focused on other things. I focused on maintaining what I have by, doing a certain amount of pull-ups, a certain amount of weighted incline presses, a certain amount of Bulgarians, and that's all I needed to maintain what I have. So when it comes to muscle gain, you're going to tap out eventually. And you've got 2 choices. Stop killing yourself in the gym to potentially put on another 0.5 pounds of muscle over the next 5 years as a 40-year-old, or just start taking them steroids. I mean, that's pretty much your 2 options. I like the first one because a lot about health and fitness is acceptance. And it's when you don't accept your limitations sometimes, well, most of the time, where you get injured and you create all these, pointless things you got to deal with. Like come on. Who wants to get injured all the time just because you're like, I got to put on 5 more pounds of muscle and I'm not going to do steroids. Like, sounds like you should just do steroids. Anyways, I'm not promoting steroids, obviously. All right, last question. This has been a long-ass video. Number 10, can you help me create a sustainable fitness plan? Okay. What would a personal trainer say to that? Their answer is, a sustainable fitness plan aligns with your goals, lifestyle, and preferences. Here's a sample plan for a beginner aiming for general fitness. That's a great answer. Goals: define specific goals, lose 10 pounds in 3 months, run 5K without stopping. Schedule 4 days a week. Monday, strength for 45 minutes. We've got squats, pull-ups, rows, blank. Wednesday, cardio, brisk walking or jogging for 30 minutes. Friday, strength, 45. For 45 minutes, you deadlift, you lunge, you shoulder press, side plank. Just get the planks out of here. Saturday, high intensity interval training. Okay. And then it gives you some nutrition. It's balanced, 40% carbs, 30% protein, 30% fats. Okay. Basic breakfast, oatmeal and eggs. Lunch, chicken salad, quinoa. Dinner, sweet potatoes, salmon, veggies. Yeah. Get 10,000 steps in daily. Flexibility, allow one flex day for missed workouts or lighter activity. Okay, yeah, so yeah, that's a decent goal. Those are decent workouts, especially if you are a beginner. That's fine. Squats, pull-ups, rows, deadlift, lunges, shoulder presses. I would take out the squats and the deadlifts, obviously. And I mean, honestly, if you did this workout, this workout that I'm going to tell you, 2 times a week, that's all you really need to do. A workout that consists of push-ups, pull-ups, or rows. Pull-ups or rows. It doesn't matter. A shoulder press, a Bulgarian split squat. And my thing is, the older you get, the most important piece of equipment you'll ever buy is a Roman chair. So the Roman chair for hyperextensions and lateral flexion, going down sideways and going down forward. If you just do a workout consisting of those movements twice a week and progressive reps, sets, and potentially weight, that's fantastic. That's all you need. Cool. All right. Well, I mean, hey, we got through it. That was a whole hour of fitness information. Hopefully that was beneficial. We only got through Grok this time, so maybe next time we'll do Chat and Gemini. But that's what Grok had to say. Pretty good. You're not going to go wrong, unless you have, some issues with your back, with the deadlifts and the squats, shoulder issues with the bench press. And then when it comes to nutrition, that balanced diet plan is not going to be beneficial for someone with prediabetes or diabetes because they're not handling glucose well, right? So, and their insulin is just not working properly in their body. So you want to bring those carbs down drastically. But there's a lot of information online, carnivore doctors who specifically do carnivore and then have their patients do carnivore, and they get their labs done, their blood work done all the time. So definitely check them out. Dr. Sean Baker, Dr. Barry, I forgot his first name. And then you've got Saladino, Dr. Saladino. Those guys are legit, and check that out. But yeah, that's it for this. We'll do some other questions next time.